and welcome to the next video. I hope you are enjoying the playlist so far, that you're getting lots of ideas, and hopefully, maybe not feeling quite so bad about how things have been progressing for you so far, and maybe hopefully a little kick in the butt to become your best mom self and being able to enjoy everything that comes with that. I know we talked about obstacles a little bit and kind of the darker side of making changes and um, deciding on whether you're going to go ahead with coaching or not. And um, if you watched it, if you resonated with it, let me know. The fact that you're this far already means a lot to me. And I know that it's, kind of all well and good to hear about, oh, yeah, well, some people have, these very similar objections as I do, but it still has nothing to do with me. How does this, how would it work for me? So I just wanted to share a little bit about one of my clients, who I'm just going to refer to as E. And she came to me, she is a mom, and she came to me just exhausted and frustrated because who isn't these days? She felt invisible. She felt like a failure as a mother because they had some financial issues, and she really had to cut back on basically all the extracurriculars for herself as well as her kids and for her husband and stuff as well. But what parent doesn't want their kids to be able to enjoy kidhood, right? So she felt like they had failed somewhere along the line because of these financial issues. She felt like she could barely get enough food on the table. Her kids are growing, everyone's always hungry, and they've had to be very careful about how much food that they're putting out and set limits on it, which is kind of heartbreaking. I know. And she had a full time job, and so did her husband, and they were barely making ends meet. And then to feel like you're still living paycheck to paycheck, regardless of that, it can be very defeating. So she was tired, she was drained, she was frustrated. Um, and she did have ideas on what they could change in their life. Um, but because of her upbringing, she was kind of, you know, taught that, there was the man of the house. He made the decisions. Women are less frugal, give them some money, they're just going to go spend it on, useless stuff. And she made less than her husband did. So she didn't feel right about making decisions about the money. And so she didn't talk to her husband about these things because of her upbringing, but also because she just sort of figured if there's the man of a house, he's just going to take, care of it. Or he's going to be able to make better decisions than I do. So she didn't have confidence in herself to go talk to her husband. Um, and she never stepped into that role of leadership either. She just kept going with how things were going. And um, she tried to voice some things here and there, but it was always like as an afterthought, hence feeling invisible. And she never put herself out there. So she was really frustrated, understandably. So she came to me, and it took some time, before she trusted me with all of this, absolutely. But eventually she confided all of this into me, and I was able to kind of get a clear picture. I have worked with moms like this. I've been in a very similar situation myself, upbringing wise. So we dug deeper. We dug into who she is as a person outside of being a mom. We dug into the stuff that she was taught to believe as a kid, where the money habits came from, where the limiting things came from, where her loss of confidence in herself came from. And we cleared it by changing her mindset on these things, by giving her a different story to believe and think about. Not that we rewrote her past entirely, because you can't do that, but we rewrote what those things could mean. And we took a look at what she is doing now and her ideas now, and how she can bring that forward in a confident way, in a loving way, to make her dream come true. She actually was a leader. She really was, despite everything that she had been taught growing up. She was very strong inside, and she had this way of getting people to follow her. She just didn't believe that she did. She was meant to make decisions. She was meant to bring ideas to her family and keep them on track with them. And I don't mean that in a burden sense. I mean that in like it wasn't her responsibility, it was her path to guide them. It was her um it was her right to bring it up and to set these ideas in motion and then get people to work with her to make this happen. So the next step from there, we had to work on her confidence because she didn't believe that she could do this stuff. But she absolutely could. She had already demonstrated the potential to do this. We just had to bring it to light and make it part of her reality. So we had to work together because she has to be in on this. She has to be willing to make these changes. In clearing her history and rewriting things, we also wrote in the confidence factor and worked on that and did things, little things that would bring her accomplishment, sense of self, some success, and build on her confidence from there. And we did it so that she felt like she could step into the leadership role with absolute ease and bring these ideas confidently. And we got to the point where she felt comfortable about talking to her husband about their finances on a deep level, like not just we need to make some changes. She had an entire list of the things that she wanted to change and how she wanted to change them and what she could envision would change in the future if they made these changes. And she had that ready to go to speak to her husband about. And she came to me like a week or so later, glowing. I had watched this woman change, like her, her frustrations started to kind of go away. She was holding her head higher. She was changing her posture. She spoke to me instead of, kind of being like this and fidgeting a little bit. She was getting to this point. She had this presence about her. They spoke on this plan for, I don't know, a couple of hours or whatever. It went well. And they had been doing this plan for the first couple of weeks since she brought it to their attention. He followed it. He went with it. He, not that he didn't have any choice about it, but he agreed with her and he realized this was a plan that was going to work because he didn't have a plan either. He had been waiting for her to say something because he had recognized that she had leadership in her and that she had this way with budgeting and financials that he didn't. But he didn't know how to tell her because she was always, really like timid and didn't want to talk about it. So he was waiting for her to lead. She was waiting for him to lead, and neither one of them was stepping out into it. But because she came to me and we worked on her confidence, she realized she could lead. So she just did it. And in the end, her plan actually ended up saving them a couple $100 a month. Um, and the last time I spoke with her, they are working on paying off some debts. They have some money for extracurriculars for their kids, which was the goal, and they're getting food on the table. And I just think, like, not that this what I do has anything to do with financials. I'm not a financial advisor, but what I do is I bring the confidence in, and a financial story is something that I think we can all resonate with, is having that confidence to make changes to our financial situation, having that confidence to talk to somebody that we love, that we trust on something that can be as ugly and confusing as money talk. And just knowing that she was able to make this change and take the spot in the leadership role and move her family into this different situation um, is exactly what becoming your best mom self is all about. It's a movement. It's about making changes that are good for you and your family and doing it with ease and confidence and inspiring others to follow you. And I will say, her energy and her confidence has like that energy, that glow, that feeling of worth. It has actually started to connect. She's able to connect with her kids on a deeper level than she could before because she knows now what her worth is and she knows how to speak to them and she feels worthy of speaking to them because she's not holding back on them. She's not, making them have to make tough decisions, this or that for this amount of time or that amount of time. Like she feels like a good mom, and not because she can spend all this money on them. That's not to do with it, but it's the fact that she's able to give them these choices and these opportunities that before just seemed so far out of reach. Um, so her kids are kind of in that like weird preteen time where like, they still kind of talk to you and tell you things, but she can tell like they're headed into their teens, they're gonna be a lot more secretive. And she wanted to be able to create this bond with them before teenagehood. um, so that they know mom is always there and they can talk to her, regardless of the situation when they're ready. Which I think, if for those of us who have teenagers, we know it's on their own time and kind of when they're comfortable with coming to us. But at least in creating that bond with them, she knows that they're gonna know that mom's there, mom's got their back, and she's happy to feel like she can do that. So the story of E is an amazing one. I'm so happy that she had this time and this moment and that she reached out when she needed to, realizing that something needed to change. Um, and that is the point of the Your Best Mom Self. It helps you, it helps your family, it feeds the energy, it creates the emotion. And so my only question to you is, you need to sit down and ask yourself, when do you want to start?